Hi, this is my second video tutorial on using Blender. This tutorial will be in two parts. The first part I'll show you how to model the four items on top of the table: the knife and fork, the plate, and the cup. In the second tutorial I'll show you how to model the table itself and how to add a background plane. There are other methods of adding a background, including compositing, which I'll cover in a later tutorial. In this tutorial I'll just be adding a shadeless background plane. So I'm going to start by opening up Blender. I'm going to just keep the new scene. I'm going to change into orthographic mode, and I'm going to delete the camera and the light. Now I'm left with the cube. I don't want that either. I'll start by modeling the plate. So I want to add a cylinder, and I want to scale it up a bit and scale it down along the z-axis using SZ to scale along the z-axis and to about the size that I want. I'm going to edit into edit mode by pressing tab, go to my front view by pressing 1 on the numpad, grab everything up along the z-axis so it's sort of in line with the top here. If you think everything's moving too fast for you like this, you can hold down shift to give a finer precision of control. So when I get close to this red line here, which is the baseline, I'll hold down shift just to get it close enough. It doesn't really have to be exact for this scene, but it's good to have it close-ish. I don't want this top vertex here, nor do I want the bottom vertex. I want to go transparent, so wireframe by pressing Z, box select this bottom, and then I've got the ring edge of the plate. I want to select the bottom and top ring, so I can press Alt, right click, to select a ring of vertices, and if I hold Shift, I can select multiple rings of vertices. I want to do this in edge select mode, so I'm going to do the same thing. When choosing a ring of vertices in edge select mode, you don't get these edges in between the two rings, because you're selecting the two rings rather than all the vertices present. I want to extrude these vertices. I'm going to press escape and I'm going to scale them in to form the edge ring of the plate. I'm going to drop them down a bit along the z-axis just to form a bowl sort of shape. There we are. So you can sort of see on the side there, I've just dropped them down. I'm going to take the top ring of edges, like so, and I'm going to go extrude again. So I'm going to press escape, and I'm going to go Alt M for merge, and I'm going to select that center. So that forms the top of the plate. For this scene, I could leave the bottom of the plate plain as it is, because you wouldn't see it anyway, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this bottom ring of vertices here, I'm going to extrude them, and I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and select this blue z-axis here and just extrude them down a bit like that. I'm going to extrude that again. I'm just going to scale it in a bit, and I'm going to extrude once more, and I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and select the top blue axis just so it snaps to the top blue axis, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to extrude final time and then Alt M to merge at center. There we are. That forms the plate. And then I'll move it further down towards the origin as well. This down here, the little orange dot, is the origin of this mesh. So I'll just move that down a bit. That looks close enough. A bit more. There. Now I've got a plate. If I want, I can also add a bevel modifier to that, just to take away these sharp edges of the plate. So I might do that now. So bevel, only minor. So I've changed the width to 0.01. So if you scroll in, you can sort of see it's taken off the sharp edge here. And it's just smoothed it all down a bit, which is what I want for a plate. So now I'm going to save this in individual scenes, so each part is going to be an individual scene. You probably don't need to do this. You could just store the plate on this first layer, then go to the second layer, and just create the fork and everything else on layers. Or you could create them all in the same layer of the same scene. But I feel like separating them all up into different scenes just to show you how you can use scenes and how you can link different items from different scenes back into one scene later. So now I'm going to type in a name here. So plate. Now I'm going to pause the video, save this file, and I'll be back soon. Okay, now I'm going to create a new scene, so I'm just going to press plus here and create an empty scene, and I'm going to call this glass. The glass is basically the same as the plate, so I'm going to add a cylinder. That already looks like a glass, so I'm just going to go tab. I'm going to grab I'm going to go transparent, and I'm going to grab everything up, and I'm just going to scale it down and scale it along the z-axis. Notice how I edited it out of edit mode, so instead of scaling at the origin of each of the vertices selected, or at the median point between all the vertices, it's scaling at the base point of this mesh. So that's just a handy feature to use sometimes. So that sort of looks like a glass. But I don't want the glass to be sealed in on the top, so I'm going to delete this top vertice, and that's basically it. One last thing, I want the glass to be solid, so I'm going to use another modifier called solidify, and that's going to give a thickness. You can already see the faint outline shown in edit mode. If you go into solid mode, you can see the edge there. So I'm just going to adjust the thickness 0.04. The same with the plate. I'm going to add a bevel modifier as well. That looks too great at the moment, so I'm going to adjust that down to 0.02. I chose 0.02, actually I'll do 0.01. So that I have 0.01 in, then I have 0.2 gap, and then 0.1 here, because I chose my thickness of my solidify modifier to be 0.04. So that's basically the cup. All done. Save again. And now I'll create a fork. This will only be a rough fork because you'll only see it from a distance. The same with my desktop background, which I'll show you here. You can only just see the fork, so you can just see the general outline. You don't really need to be really picky on details which you can't see. You could go into really high detail if you're doing a first person actually using the fork, or if you're having an animation zooming in on the fork, you'd want to show the detail on the fork. But in this case, you only want to show the general outline so people can recognize it as being an item of cutlery. So, add a cube, scale along the X direction, extrude them out a bit, and extrude them out a bit. I'm going to make a 3-pronged fork. I think in the other image I have as my desktop background, I used a 5-pronged fork, but you don't really need it. You only need the low detail. You can always add in another prong later. Now I'm going to delete the faces along this side. So I'm going to use face select mode. Select these two faces, X face. Now I'm going to go back to vertices select mode, take these vertices, hold down Control and drag the X in so it's along the center line. I'm going to use another modifier here. I'm going to use the mirror modifier. This means I can mirror everything along the X axis here. So everything I do on one side mirrors on the other side. This is fantastic when you're doing anything that's the same on two sides. The same for humans, you can do it with many things. I'll also probably add a subdivide surface modifier later, or a subsurface smooth modifier, subdivision surface modifier later, just to smooth everything over and give it a nice look. The reason I deleted the faces in along this center line here was so that they don't interfere with the subdivide surface modifier later. I'm going to take these vertices here, and actually I'll do it this way. I'm going to take that face there and that face there. I'm going to extrude them like this. It's about the length I want the fork prongs, and that looks extremely large. I might just go back into vertice mode and just tweak this a bit. I might add another prong to the fork. I didn't say I was going to do that before, but I think I prefer 5. So I'm just going to extrude these again, and extrude once more, and extrude. There we are. I've done a 5-pronged fork again. Still looks extremely large compared to the rest of the scene, So I'll just grab this, and I'm going to select everything and scale on the Z axis. There we are. That's a very, very square fork. Alright, so now I'm going to show you another modifier. So I'm going to exit out of edit mode, Shift C to center the view on this center point here. Oh, I think I'll make that a bit longer. Yep, that looks better. So I'm going to add the Subdivide surface modifier, which makes it all nice and smooth. As you notice here, there's a little problem with the two prongs separating, or the one prong that looks like two here. That's because there's another two faces in here. There's another one face. So I'll just delete that face there. Next face, tab, and now that makes that solid. I might also adjust this edge in a bit, and the same bit with this edge, just to smooth it off a bit. There we are. And notice how the mirror modifier updates in real time, so you don't have to wait ages for it to update. It updates as you're working on the mesh, which is very handy. And the same as you have this other option here, so you can edit both sides of the mesh. So rather than just always editing one side, you can edit both sides. So whatever I do to this side here, it does to the other side. That can be turned on and off. The same as this other option here, which shows or hides it in edit mode. Yeah, that's sort of the fork. I'm not happy with the curve there I've got at the fork. It's just flat and straight. So I want to add a curve, which I'll later use for a curve modifier. I'm going to rotate it the Y direction 90 degrees, go into edit mode, grab that, and I'm just going to use E to extrude. And I'm just going to select these and press G to grab and move them around to the shape that I want. There we are, I've got my curve now. I'm going to select this. I'm going to I'm going to select that. I'm going to add a curve deform modifier. So under the deform panel, I'm going to add a curve. I'm going to select the curve object as being curve, and at the moment it turns it like that. So I'm going to select Y, puts it like that. It's very flat at the moment. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to rotate it along the Y direction, negative 90 degrees. And I'm going to grab it along the Y direction, and it sort of forms around the curve, like so. That looks a bit better, but at the moment it is very rough. Well, I might be able to fix that with... Yep, so as you subdivide the surface, it smooths that off, which is much nicer. So I've added the subdivide surface modifier before I added the curve modifier. If you turn these the other way around, it will come out very square because I haven't ring cut this section across here multiple times. I might ring cut it anyway just to give it a bit more precision, so I'll just scroll up, press Ctrl R to ring cut, and then scroll up so it has two purple lines there, which cuts it twice, once there and once there. And that just to give a bit more precision, but I'll still add the curve after the subdivide surface modifier just to make it a bit more smoother. There we are. There's the fork. Last item is the knife. The knife is modelled the same as the fork. I'm probably going to skip through this part. I'll just start it up, and I'll use the subsurf modifier and the mirror modifier as well. For the knife, I won't use the curve modifier. I'll only use those other two modifiers.